So I think we've almost got live. Yes, we have a live button, a yellow live button, but a 0 viewer count. So I think we'll.
So what's the link to the YouTube part? Because that's the only way I'll be able to see the students' comments.
Yeah, if you go to yesterday's review post, there's a link to.
So what's the link to the YouTube part? Because that's the only way I'll be able to see the students' comments.
Yeah, if you go to yesterday's review post, there's a link to. Sorry, switch that off. Yeah, okay. You can. The viewing link is on Twitter, and it's also in yesterday's review post.
Yep.
We've got.
Yeah, I was trying to find it on Twitter, but I couldn't find it.
There's so many tweets, you see. We're live, Nick. We're live. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the final hangout of this week. I see the viewer count is starting to go up, which is good. So we'll wait a minute or two before we get going for real, just to make sure everybody's beamed in okay. As you'll see, we've got Nick with us this morning. He's back from his travels. And
morning.
Sarah's still unwell. So looking forward to seeing some photos and things of you all. I did see quick. Oh, Nick. Sarah's still unwell. So looking forward to seeing some photos and things of you all. I did see I'm hearing myself in stereo, which is very scary.
Yes, I think I've sorted that one out. Sorry about that.
No, I did the same here this end just now. It defaults itself back on. If you put the video onto mute and then you go back to it later, it turns itself back on, which is a bit annoying. So you've got to remember to keep switching it off again. Anyway, okay, we're up to 25. Fantastic. So let's get going. So where are we at the moment? We are about to start topic 4, and you have, because of the way the week's worked out, obviously you have tomorrow and Sunday as well on topic 4, and even all of Monday as well, because your comments and reflective summaries on topic 4 aren't due until the end of Monday. So it's a bit stretched out compared to the last 2 topics, which hopefully you'll find a bit more restful. Sorry, Nick.
I was going to say, it also gives a chance to start to explore some of those software packages for creating the visuals and the graphics and the videos and things like that, because you get a little bit more time to play around and learn and have a go.
Yeah, that's very true. I've left some comments on various people's work for topic 3 that they might like to be a bit more experimental in topic 4 and try out some different media. And don't forget as well, I keep reminding you of this because I don't want anyone to be surprised. You do have another task at the end of this module. It's not just about the 5 topics. So that task is all about what this course has taught you about building your own digital profile and how it's changed and how your ideas have changed over the course of the module relating to your own professional profile. And that links in very much with the topic we've just done, which is obviously topic 3.
Yeah, in addition to that, that sort of final reflection piece can also reflect on the development of your skills, your digital literacies. So thinking back to the self-test from the beginning and how much your attitudes, confidence, abilities have changed as a result of the course as well. So that topic 6, if you like, is an important part of the course, a very important part of the course, and it's quite easy to just see it as a sort of final look back and not be so wholehearted in completing that particular topic. But actually, it's worth quite a lot of the course final mark, and you definitely need to take that one seriously.
Yep. Okay. Thanks very much for emphasising that, Nick. I'm just looking at the questions, or to see if there are any questions. There's lots of hellos and mornings, so thank you for those. Sorry, Nick, I just missed something there, I think.
Oh no, I just said I haven't seen a question. Oh, hang on, we've got a question here. So would I be only using self-test review of how? No, you wouldn't just use that, but that can form a basis or a beginning point, or it just can help guide you in your own in assessing your own development. But no, it's not just that.
No, I mean, the reason we asked you to do the self-test right at the beginning was so that you would have a record of exactly where you stood on all those different categories at the start of the module, exactly so you could have a basis for comparison at the end. So Nick's right, it's certainly a good starting point, but not the be-all and end-all. Okay, so what we wanted to do this morning then, other than take any specific questions that you have, is just give a few pointers on topic 3. We haven't quite finished the marking yet, although obviously we'll get that to you before the end of the day today. But there's a few points that have cropped up already that I think we'd both like to just mention to you now, so you can factor them into your topic 4 work. The biggest thing for me at the moment is I'm still getting people who haven't done their self-marking. And this is a bit disappointing at this stage of the course. And talking to Nick before we started, he said the same as well. So please, the whole point of doing that self-marking is so that you can reflect on how well you've done and perhaps which areas you need to focus more on, and look very specifically at the criteria in order to get higher marks. Because it's exactly that table that we use to mark your work. So, you know, we're not doing anything differently than you're doing. Did you want to say anything about that point on self-marking, Nick?
Yeah, so it was this week was that there were people who had been self-marking quite well in topic 2, for example, who for some reason failed to self-mark in topic 3, maybe due to time against deadlines or just forgetting to do it. And while that's not an assessed part of the course, we're not grading you on your ability to self-mark. What's important about the self-marking is that it gives you the opportunity to, if you like, develop yourself and recognise the areas where you and we agree that there are weaknesses. That gives you the best possible chance of pulling your grades up topic by topic. And the more familiar you are with how the topics are marked, be able to write and produce the topics. So it's to your advantage to actually spend that time self-marking. Try not to forget it. In fact, don't forget it.
Yeah, because it's difficult for us to see how much we agree or disagree with your marking if we can't even see what your marking is. So if we get one like that, we will just bounce it back to you and say, you know, in order for us to give you some feedback, please do your self-marking. So a few of you fit into that category. So you will know who you are. You should get a notification through your Gmail every time we make a comment on your sheet. So do keep an eye on that. And obviously we get the same notifications if you comment back to us, so we'll know when you've done it. Right, I'm just going to have another look and see if there's any more questions. Let's see.
Yeah, Jim followed up his question about the self-test by asking whether or not he should review that throughout the blog posts, throughout the topics, basically, not just in topic 6. Well, the answer to that, Jim, is it's up to you. If you would like to include aspects of it in your reflections in each of the topics, then why not? So long as it's relevant and what you're saying is connected not just to your personal development, but also to that particular topic, then why not? But it's up to you.
Yeah, and don't feel as though it's about summarising everything that we've all covered throughout the course in all the posts. You know, it's really, as Nick says, focusing on particular things that have helped you, or particular ideas that you've drawn upon, things that surprised you, or whatever it might be, that have helped you to build your own digital profile. So yeah, hopefully there will be things you can draw upon from the module and from the previous posts. But don't feel as though it's some kind of meta summary of a summary of summaries, because that isn't the case. Okay, so I'm just having a look at the tweets now to see if anyone has sent us any nice pictures. Oh, we've got a rainy picture. Is it raining out in Singapore? It looks like rain, or is it fog? Probably rain, I should think. Looks like a very grey picture through a window. Well, we've only got the one picture, so please send some through if you've got some. I'm sure Sarah would like to see some. She's still not well. Okay, right. A couple more things that I wanted to say about topic 3. Firstly, some of you have shown screenshots of the results of Googling your name and showing where your profiles appear on a Google search. I just wanted to, I mean, that's a good idea, but I just wanted to put a slight warning against that, because you do need to be aware of the filter bubble effect. And I think I mentioned this in one of the earlier sessions. But if you're using your own kit, laptops, phones, whatever, and you're working on your own profiles, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it might be, and then you do a Google search for your name, then you're probably going to find your search results will show you pretty much at the top, if not at the very top, of the list of results. And that isn't because you are possibly the best person in the whole world for your particular name. It's because, although that may well be the case, but really it's because it's remembered that your kit has remembered that you have been to those sites many times, and so it's showing them to you first. So if you were to look at the same results through a public search via Google, or through a different piece of kit altogether that isn't connected to your IP address, you might find a completely different set of results. So I just wanted to just warn you of that, so that you don't go around saying, oh, you know, my profiles are so good, I'm at the top of Google for my name worldwide. Because that might, as I say, possibly be the case, but it's probably unlikely for all of us, I would say. Is that fair? Is that a fair comment, Nick?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. If it's possible to Google yourself from a machine that you don't use very often, or an IP address that you don't visit very often, it'd be interesting to see the difference in results. If you've got friends or family, for example, in a different city or a different part of the city completely, or coming off a completely different IP address, and ask them to Google your name and compare it with what you get, you can get some idea of this filter bubble. Could be an interesting thing to reflect on.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, the other thing I've got on my list I'm checking, this is where I go into rant mode, but I promise it'll only be brief, and you'll probably think I'm being really picky here, but spelling and grammar, particularly if you're writing about building your professional digital profile, you don't really want to have posts with poor spelling and grammar. And one or two things in particular keep coming up. And I'm going into English teacher mode, which is Nick's job really, but hopefully you can back me up on this. I don't like seeing the word medias with an S, because that's a double plural. Media is already a plural of medium. So you have one medium, two media. You don't have medias, okay? And that's a word that crops up a lot in a course like this when you're talking about lots of different digital channels. So that's one of my pet hates. And the other one, and I promise this is not going to get onto a discussion about Donald Trump, but the other one is there is no place anywhere in any blog post, however informal it may be, where you use the word gotten. Gotten is a completely forbidden word. Do you support me on this, Nick?
I very much do.
Good.
Yes. I would add yo into that as well.
Yes. Gotten and yo, we do not want to see in any blog post, even if it's just your About Me page. Please, it is a complete red flag. We do not like the word gotten and the way it is taking over the English language. So hopefully you will bear with us on this and not just accuse us of being old fuddy-duddies. But anyway, end of rant. Any comments on that, Nick? Support me, please.
Yeah, so although obviously we understand it's not always easy to correctly in with, you know, sort of the correct spellings or the English rather than American versions of things, one online tools you can use to help check your posts before you actually post them. So there's reverso.com or gingersoftware.com, where you can put in sentences or chunks of text, and it will pick up grammatical errors and even correct them for you in some cases. So if you're worried about the level of your English language skill, you try to make use of those tools before publishing your posts onto your blog, just to try and get the grammar as tidied up as possible before putting it in there. Because as Lisa says, although international English is a widely accepted version of English, so not all the grammatical rules have to be identical with those of UK-based English. Nevertheless, if the grammar is too far off, we lose the sense of the message that's trying to be portrayed. So at the very worst, it can make your posts look a little bit sloppy. That's at the very best. At the very worst, you can lose the meaning of the message that you're trying to communicate. It causes confusion to the reader because the grammar's inaccurate. So for those reasons, just either personally to look as good as you can, or if you like professionally, to make sure that everyone can understand exactly what you're trying to communicate. It is necessary to take some time over the grammar of what you're doing.
Okay, thank you for that, Nick. I'm just looking at Twitter again, and Lelia has sent us a lovely picture of her lunch, which looks very colourful, but perhaps a bit too much for this time of the morning for me. But thank you for that. Okay. Can you see it, Nick?
Let me have a quick look. Hang on.
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, it looks quite exotic. Is it strawberries? Strawberries on top of cabbage? Really? Okay, and chicken, presumably. I'm sorry, I've got a sort of truncated version of the picture on my Twitter feed, so there's a little bit of it cut off. But yeah, it certainly looks colourful and interesting. Thank you for that one. Okay, the other thing I wanted to say about the topic 3, and I've mentioned this in the feedback to a number of people, is it would be good to see you being a bit more experimental with creating video in the last 2 topics. And I've suggested tools like Powtoon, for example, where you can make animations quite easily. It's a kind of cut and paste, drag and drop style cartoon creator, which can be quite fun and quite a good way of getting your points across in an amusing and different way to just text. So you might like to have a look at that. I know Maureen, for example, had a go with a Powtoon and a Prezi as well. Prezi is sort of like a PowerPoint on steroids, which 1 or 2 of you have tried, and that's a different way of presenting visually your material. It's kind of a cross between a video and presentation. That's something else you might like to have a look at. And I think I put some links to the sites where you can get started with those in the summary post yesterday. So if you haven't tried those yet, do have a look. Or if you're scrolling through looking at other people's work, then I'm sure you'll come across them, and particularly if you look at last year's students towards the end of the course, they were doing some good examples of Powtoon. And the final point I've got on my list of notes here I wanted to mention this morning is about volunteers to join the Hangout. As we're getting towards the end now, it would be really good if some of you would like to join in, like Nick is on this today and Sarah has been during the week, actually to participate within the Hangout so you can talk to your group in the same way that I'm doing now. It might sound a bit scary, but again, if you have a look back at last year's videos, you'll find that some of your colleagues from last year threw themselves into this and they thoroughly enjoyed it. I think we had a session in a cafe, didn't we, Nick, last year, where there's a whole group of people joined in from a cafe, and we could see.
I seem to remember it was really, really hard. You could hear the rain drumming on the roof of the cafe.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah. One of the students had to move to a different part of the cafe so that we could hear them.
Yes. Yeah. No, I remember that. That was really good. So yeah, have a look at those and see what they did. And we'd love it if some of you would like to volunteer. It doesn't have to be one person alone. You can be a small group. However many you can fit around a screen would be fine. So let us know over the weekend if you'd like to join in on that. And don't forget to check out the UK students as well. I've got to dash into university when we finish this session, because I've got a class with the UK students. So I will encourage them to interact with you, and it would be good if you could interact with them. It would be fantastic. They've just started topic 3, so you've actually moved ahead of them now, which is kind of weird. Okay, I'll shut up for a minute.
About which time and which day and time would that be for joining in with the Hangouts?
Well, anyway, we've got 3 left: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, you know, it'd be good if we had a different group each day, really. But whatever works for you.
So, how should people let us know? What's the best way for people to let us know they'd be interested?
Well, just send a tweet. That's probably the easiest thing. Send us a tweet, or use the chat room now. I haven't got that window visible at the moment.
I've got it open. So.
Yeah, if people just want to, you know, don't volunteer others. That's not very fair. But if you've agreed between yourselves that you want to do it as a group, maybe, then, you know, just let us know. We'll do a little test beforehand to make sure it works okay, because you may need to fiddle with some settings to get it to work. There's usually a little glitch or something with the Google Hangouts, and because they have just recently moved to YouTube Live, the setup's a bit different anyway. So we just need to check beforehand that it works okay. Right, are there any other questions or anything on the chat room, Nick?
No, not at the moment.
Or is there anything you want to say about the topic 3s that you've done?
I thought that they were, the ones I've done so far were, in general, much improved on topics. I think one area that I would have liked to perhaps have seen a little more of was the linking of what you were discussing in topic 4 in topic 3, with the things that you discussed in topic 2. So that idea of the professional profile marries quite closely to some of the conversations about the single or multiple online identities that you had in topic 2. So when you're doing each topic, don't forget previous topics and try to relate your new, anything that might be relevant in the new topic to things that you've already been discussing and discovered in the previous topics, and draw those connections out. Now, some of you did that quite well in topic 3, others of you didn't do that at all. So just as a thing going forward, try and think about those links between all the different parts of learning that you've had through the course.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So thanks for that. Right. Well, I've covered all the points that were on my list for today. I'm just going to have another look and see if we've got any questions, or if there's anything else on Twitter. No, it doesn't look like anything on Twitter. Questions. Right. Ooh, Holly. Oh, Nick, you've answered that, I see. Ginger Software. Okay. Great. So that's sorted. Okay, so I'm going to do the 2-minute warning then for questions, and if there aren't any more, then we'll sign off for today and let you get into your weekends. Perhaps you could send us some smileys or thumbs up if what we've said has made sense so far. That would be good to know. Don't forget, we can't see you, so any feedback would be great. I'm still not seeing any thumbs up, which is slightly worrying. So someone please send me a smiley. Yes, thanks, Jeff. Brilliant. Okay, got a smiley from Jeff. So 2, Jim as well. Norman, oh, brilliant. Okay, lots of smileys now. Thanks very much. Okay. Okay, and I'm not seeing any more actual questions. Any final points from you then, Nick? I think we should, if we don't get any more, we should leave it for today.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Right, so just as a reminder then of where we've got to, you've got lots of things to experiment with over the weekend, should you choose. in terms of new tools, and also thinking about your digital profiles more generally, and the final task of the module. And then we'll be obviously back here again early on Monday. And if you want to join in, send us a note before then, ideally sometime before then, so we've got time to do some testing and things beforehand, and that would be great. Oh, I've just seen a question from Maureen come up. Is the main post for topic 4? Yeah, the main post for topic 4 is due today, and the comments and summary by the end of Monday. So you've got that gap in the middle of Saturday and Sunday between the two parts of the topic, which is just the way it's worked out with the day the course started.
Just long enough to play with Powtoons.
Yeah, a weekend playing with Powtoon and see what you come up with. Right. Oh,
Nobody's asking us to hold on for a moment.
Hold on. Right. Okay. What's happening now? Something exciting? Is it going to be a long question? The suspense.
Yeah, it's probably a long question. Oh no, the question's answered.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad it wasn't a tricky one. Could we have an extension of deadline for topic 4? It's a Friday. What time is it now? It's 4 o'clock for you now, isn't it? You've got ages yet. You've got all evening. We spend all evenings marking. You could spend all evenings working. Okay.
I like that question because I have the principle: if you don't ask, you don't get. It was worth asking, but you're not going to get.
No, definitely not. No. Okay, but you do have, like we said, we keep saying you've got a weekend now, so time to catch up on things a bit. Right, so I'm just going to have a final look at Twitter. Oh, I'm still seeing that picture of lunch, and no one's explained what it is. Lelia, can you tell us what your lunch is? I'm intrigued. It looks colourful.
I think
it looks like almost like covered in frost, or I presume it's sugar, not frost. You don't get frost in Singapore, I don't think. But certainly not on your dinner, you would hope. That'd be a bit worrying. Anyway, on that. Say again, sorry, Nick?
Straight from the fridge.
Straight from
yes. But no, I think it might be broccoli, Lisa. I think Layla suggested.
But I'm sure it's strawberries as well, on top of the broccoli.
Maureen's sort of backing up Kay's point here and suggesting that if the main post might be better if they could have to submit it, but unfortunately these things tend to get fixed in advance. It's just the way it is. Put the effort into the reflection. In actual fact, using some of those tools such as Prezi or Haiku Deck or Powtoons to reflect on what you've learned from the other blogs is actually a really good use of those tools. You can use them to sort of present ideas in your first post, but you can also use them to sort of summarize and reflect on how your ideas have changed or thinking that you've developed in the reflection part of the post. So actually, it's not just, this is still one of the things that I'm noticing overall, just as a comment actually, is that the reflections tend to be visually inferior to the main posts. The main posts often have a lot of different images, some video embedded, maybe some self-produced images, but there seems to be still the reflections are predominantly text. Things like infographics and videos that summarize what you've learned or how your learning has changed are really good uses of that type of stuff. So having the 2 days to think about that in your next reflection is probably no bad thing. I personally would like to see more efforts made in the reflections. I can see that a lot of efforts going into the main posts, and perhaps people are feeling that the reflections are a bit of a lesser post, or it's somehow less important in terms of visuals, and people often revert back to whole great chunks of text in the reflections. So use these 2 days, use the opportunity you've got to work on this reflection, and see if you can use some of these creation tools to visually represent your learning shifts or the development of your skills or how your ideas have changed on the subject. Would you say that's right, Lisa?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So basically, in summary, what Nick's saying is, if you don't feel you've got time to bring something like that into your first post, then the second post is just as good, if not better. So it certainly isn't a case of volume. We're not saying, oh, if you put in 6 Powtoons to each post, then that's going to guarantee you top marks. It's all about what's useful and relevant and adds value to your argument. So
Yeah,
don't feel you've got to stick something in for the sake of it. But
yeah, that's really important. That's really, really important. It's not about what you put in has, excuse me, has to add strength or has to be significantly developing what you're saying. One Powtoons that really strengthens your argument is a lot better than 3 Powtoons or Prezzies that do very little to contribute to the points that you're trying to make. Remember, it's to add value to those who connect with you. So the things in it need to be relevant. Lots of sort of pretty pictures or fun graphics or cartoons or animations, while fun, is not actually bringing much to the depth and quality of your post.
Yeah. So again, I think as I said yesterday, it's all about balance and not throwing everything at it, but at the same time, you're being selective about what you think is most appropriate to get across the points you want to make. And some of you I've seen are saying things like, "Oh, 400 words isn't enough for this topic." Well, as we keep saying, it's not just about the words. There are plenty of ways to get your point across that don't involve using words, and usually they're more effective. So just try and think a little bit laterally and creatively about getting your message across. You are marketing students, and think what you'll be doing here is ideal practice for promoting on behalf of a company. Getting the company's message out there in a creative way in which customers will remember and respond positively. It's exactly the same principles. So anyway, on that note, I think it's probably time to wish you a good weekend, and hope the rain stops. I haven't actually looked outside here yet because when we started this it was still dark, but it looks as though it might be vaguely sunny through the gap.
I'm looking out of the window now, and it's clear skies, and it's very unusual for November.
Great. Well, you're not looking very suntanned after your week in Mauritius, Nick. In fact, you're looking very white.
Marking.
That's
actually true. I only had one day of sunbathing the entire time I was there.
Oh dear. Oh, you got no Wi-Fi on the beach? I don't know.
Well, I probably, it was sporadic, but you do look a bit silly sitting on the laptop on the beach, don't you?
Just getting sand in it probably won't do it much good either.
Right,
anyway, we'll stop rambling. We'll say goodbye for now. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you all again on Monday. Okay, so bye.
Bye everyone. Nice to see you again.